Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali, and having learned a few things through human interactions, by engaging my senses at times attentively and at times not so attentively, and having pursued my master's in business administration and clinical psychology, I today would like to talk about this image. Now, this image over here says, your ear is a womb. Whatever you listen to will eventually be conceived and born into your reality. Choose carefully what you listen to. Now, of course, whoever conceived this thought and gave birth to this picture, gave birth to these thoughts, has tried to communicate something that's profoundly insightful and has created and gave birth to this idea, not just in terms of the image, but the words as well. The complete idea has addressed a few aspects. The aspects of listening and not just hearing. The aspect of us being a biopsychosocial creature. And it can even go the other way around, social psychobiological creatures. Through this image, the person has also addressed that we are constantly interacting with our environment, which impacts and influences our psychological and biological reality. And this person has also addressed our ability to choose as to what and who or who all shape our reality, our experiential, embodied reality. The person who's conceived of this idea and has given birth to it is quite literally talking about the ear that is attached to the brain, that is then further attached to the body. And of course, the other way around as well, is in a way also telling us that whatever we hear and listen to through the medium of our senses, or at least one of the senses that has been pointed out in the picture, is coming from the external world, from the world that's outside of us. And though those messages are coming from our interactions from the external world, they are getting processed within the skull. They are getting embodied and stored within the brain, and thereby our entire body as well. That information is then not just sticking onto the brain, but since the brain is attached to the entire neuromuscular system, that information through that interaction is getting stored on a cellular level, exactly like how the baby is conceived. It's coming from the outside, but it's getting stored inside the mother's womb. It's coming from the outside, but it's getting embedded in the womb. Not just metaphorically, but quite literally as well. So whatever informations we are hearing and listening to through our interactions is getting embedded quite literally into our bodies, within our bodies, which then quite naturally means that that interaction has gotten embedded within our bodies, within our neuromuscular system on a cellular level. And since we are in constant influx and interaction with our environment, at times choosing it intentionally and deliberately and consciously, and at times being a party to it, being a part of it, in not so engaging and attentive ways, given our interaction on conscious and subconscious levels, it still registers within us, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or not so consciously. And to a degree, it's not just birthing our reality, but that reality, not just on the outside, but even on psychological and even on physiological levels, bodily levels, becomes a part of our reality. And I can think of two examples that I can use to decode this, to unravel these aspects as to how our interactions gets embodied in our physical reality, becomes an embodied expression of ourself. And since our biology is not separate from our psyche, which is not separate from our social interactions, they kind of have an interwoven effect. And at times these interwoven effects lasts a few generations. Now, one such example that I can think of was in the epic story of Mahabharata, wherein Abhimanyu, the young soldier who goes on to the battlefield, has already got the knowledge even before he took birth, during the time of his conception, while he was being created and birthed into reality in his mother's womb, through an interaction that she had with Krishna, wherein he is telling her the ways in which the Chakravyu could be broken, could be entered. Now, unfortunately, she did not listen to the entire message, which is where she and her conceptualized and yet unborn child, her embodied and yet unborn child, could not and did not receive the message in ways, in manners in which he could come out from that Chakravyu. So he knew how to enter even before he was born. He knew how to enter because his mother had conceptualized that message, because his mother had embodied that message, which then reached him. But unfortunately, he could not come out because that was the message that his mother failed to receive. It was the message that she probably did not listen to, pay attention to, which did not get passed on to him, which did not get embodied in him, which did not register in him. And thereby, unfortunately, he was killed. Another example that I can share over here was through a podcast that I was listening to just a few days back. And it was about Holocaust survivors. It was about the concentration camps, the gas chambers, the experience of the Auschwitz. Now, here was this elderly lady, probably in her 80s or in her 90s, who was recollecting her experiences and was sharing it with the person who was trying to understand her reality. And this lady, having survived that, after generations later, after giving birth to her daughters and her sons, who've then gone on to birth their own daughters and sons, who've also gone on to birth their own kids, even till this day goes on to say that even though I survived the gas chambers, that even though I came out of them, they still live within me. They might not be alive all the time, but they are a part of my psychological and my physical reality. In that interview, she had gone on to reveal there's an unease within her body that she finds difficult to shake off. In that interview, in that conversation, in that interaction, she's even gone on to narrate as to how people who cried during that time were first noticed and picked up and sent to the gas chambers, including children. And she herself was a 7-year-old who noticed all of that. And from that point onwards, she learned not to cry. She learned not to show her emotions. And that till date, even after generations, she finds it disturbing when people cry, when even her grandkids cry. That as a mother, she found it triggering if her children ever cried and that they were punished for it. That she would withdraw her love from them. And so quite naturally, even her kids have difficulty crying or showing their emotions. Because for them, crying may not be associated with gas chambers and death, but it may be associated with withdrawal of love. And through this image, the creator of this message in a way has also revealed that how the messages that we listen to, that we hear, that how our interactions with the outside world not just gets embedded in our psyche and our physical reality, but they also get passed on from one generation to the other. And that how to a degree it becomes a generational pattern. And the thought processes with regards to those generational patterns might vary to a degree, might be different to a degree, but the reality of it still comes across as the same, or at least similar. And last but not the least, the creator, the conceptualizer of this message, the words, the thoughts along with the image, is also telling us that we need to become aware of what we surround ourselves with, of what we interact with, of what surrounds us and what interacts with us, so that we can choose carefully and wisely. Over here, the Creator is also talking about our ability to choose, of what we engage with and what engages with us. Because almost every interaction is an embodied experience and an expression. And maybe not just for one generation, but for a few generations to come. So let's try to understand the nuances of that message through that picture, through that image. Let's try to understand as to how the continuity of life works. Continuity of thoughts, of emotions, of our physical reality in keeping with our interactions works. Let's try to become aware of those realities, of those nuances, so that we choose carefully, wisely, and discerningly. Let's try and do that for ourselves, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of these videos, please do like, share, and subscribe.